Welcome back to a crowdfunding retrospective. The first one came out last week, and we went from episodes 1 to 6 of Crowdfunding Countdown. We have now done 151 episodes of Crowdfunding Countdown, and I figured it would be a fun thing to go back in time, give myself some points on scores on how well I assessed some of the campaigns, how the campaigns are doing right now, and what are some of the notable ones that stand out from the past. Now we're on to episode 8, which has Chili Mafia, which is Pablo the Pepper, but I'm just going to go left to right with the Iridia update. I have Lands of Galzyr. They did send me a copy recently. They said, hey, no pressure to review it, but here's some pressure, just play it, and then hopefully you like it, and hopefully you can talk about it. I still haven't gotten to the table. I think maybe Renee might enjoy playing it. We might get it to the table at some point, but like, man, oh man, I'll see you in October, really, because this is a busy, busy time. Oh, I forgot about Trio, which is the threesome game. I absolutely forgot about Trio, the threesome game, and that needs to come back. The OG Spicify. This was also the week of Flamecraft, which didn't make it into the picks for me or the picks for you. Could have been an easy pick for you. I knew a lot of people were interested in it as a pick for you. I've played Flamecraft since. I think it is good. I think it is a, 4 out of 5. I would put it 4 out of 5. I quite enjoy it. I think there's a nice lot of variability there. I like the little shops, and it feels a lot like a race, but there's not it's not too complicated, and you don't want to play with anybody who gets analysis paralysis, because then it won't be fun. This was also the birth of Pablo the Pepper in his blurry form, but it didn't make the pick for me. The pick for me is 100% a win. I absolutely love this game. The game is We Whimsical Creatures and trying to identify them after somebody makes a noise, which I lovingly refer to as We Whimsical Creatures. I don't have We Whimsical Creatures. Well, I do. I still have the PDF. I guess I could still do the print and play. I have, in fact, a game about cute comical creatures and trying to identify them after somebody makes noises. It is so, so fun. This is absolutely a point for me. Everybody should get this game. It's like making sounds Dixit. Great. I really want to print off this because then I could get more pictures, more creatures. And I think that's very fun. The pick for you was Wicked and Wise. I remember this because I remember it being a trick-taking game. Although it appears I just also recommended Name of the Wind, which still we're waiting on the trilogy. Oh, let me listen to Past Chris for a second. All right, that was me just clearly rereading Name of the Wind because I'd read it a bunch before then. But yeah, Wicked and Wise. Wicked and Wise is the pick. I think it delivered, must have delivered in 2022, having a great holiday, making strides on what I'm currently calling Too Wicked, Too Wise. That's cool. All the games are gone out. They delivered in 2022. One thing I did point out that I missed is Bug Council of Backyardia was in episode 7, which also I remember being excited about, and I reference it in the final thoughts here. Wicked and Wise, you're either playing dragons or you're playing a mouse allied with the dragon in this trick-taking game. So it's a team of you want to give the dragons as many tricks as possible, but you as a mouse still have to get some tricks as well. Okay, August 2024, I played this with a full player count of 6, 3 teams of 2. We followed the first game's instruction, having more experienced players play the mice. This is not the way. We were bored playing as the mice, and I think it would have been better if we'd been dragons. Where you sit really matters, as the flow of play was so clunky in that the dragons played first in team order, then the mice in team order, then finally back to the dragons in team order. We adjusted our teams and seats, and still it was weird and out of order for everything. We were constantly worrying about whose turn it was, lots of phases, and generally way too long. Hadn't noticed the 45 to 75 minute playtime in the box, and the matter took like 3 hours, including random tangents of talking, just because it was a slow game. Didn't work out for me. Asymmetrical game of teams. Can be fun, honestly. Not a lot of 10s. Quite a few 8s, the majority it being 8s. God, I hate trick-taking games. Well, you probably won't like that one. Worth it. Wonderful asymmetrical team trick-taker. Love trick-taking. Having the dragon player cards use their rank and mouse player cards use their cards for their ability would be more interesting if there were more flow between the two players of the team. Many of the card abilities were pretty forgettable, as I didn't envy the mouse player. Having the reward for winning a trick be first pick of 2 boons, the second of which the other team gets anyway, felt pretty strange. Usually it was a pretty incidental choice to make. Lots of clunkiness. Down to try it again to see how the second play feels, but overall not a great first impression. Awful, didn't like this. One of the biggest strengths of trick-taking is snappy gameplay. There's way too many rules and subsystems in place. Interesting. Played great with 4 players, we enjoyed it, would play again. Heard reviews where they thought the mouse didn't have a big enough role. That is untrue. They can help or hinder the dragon greatly. So it could just be like people's familiarity with the strategy, right? Like this is could go in and out. You could bounce off of it. Solid at 4 and 2 players. There's a lot to do for players. It feels like it's a 4-player game. It feels like the 6-player seems to be half-baked. I don't know if I give myself a fail on this or not. I'm not going to give myself a point, but I'm not going to give myself a fail. I feel like I probably adequately described... You know what? I'm going to give myself a fail. Let's be harsh. Let's be harsh. I'm going to give myself a negative point here because it doesn't seem like people enjoyed it as well as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a hit. And it didn't blow away. And so maybe out of the lot, right? Like if it was up against Flamecraft, because Flamecraft was in as the selection process, although I didn't pick Flamecraft, and I say this in the video specifically because of the deluxification aspect of it, and that you can probably get it cheaper at retail, and looky, who got cookie? I was right. I'm still going to give myself a negative point because I think the pick for you might have been Flamecraft in this instance, maybe more widely beloved. But I liked the odd pick. I don't know. No negative point. No, a negative point. A negative point. Yeah, a negative point. Editing Chris is going to have a field day with this. Yeah, but I got a point for Whimsical Creatures. Didn't get a point for Wicked and Wise. I think that seems fair. Let's move on to episode 9. Let me just write what the pick for whoever's were. Ooh, we're getting longer. Oh, I think it was the Gardens. I think the Gardens was a pick. I remember that. Black Rose Wars, I don't think was a pick, but we're going to see. Moving into episode 9. All right, we have Amass as the pick for me. And this is the first one that I haven't remembered. Basically, I've been able to remember most of them up until this point, which is pretty good considering it was 3 years ago. This is the first one where I don't remember picking this as the pick for me, and that probably says something like this will be a negative strike against me. But looking at it now and hearing my little brief description about it, it's kind of coming back to me. I remember it had good shipping. Worker placement, hidden movement strategy game. You were putting your workers out in different locations on the planet. You'll secretly place your crew as to where they're going. Go mining for the most valuable resources or raid another player. Oh, okay. This kind of reminds me a bit of Rat Wars. Rat Wars is a fun game. Deploy. Crew cards get revealed, space miners are placed on the planet map, and then action cards can now be played. With these, you send beasts to attack player bases, divert the aliens to obscure resources, secure your base, poison your enemies, much more. Then we have combat, fights, and raids. The first player picks the first combat. Each space miner can mine 1 resource cube. Fights occur when locations don't have enough resources for each miner to take a cube. So if you go, even if you choose a spot, then you have to fight the combat. You roll a d6, results are paired off. That doesn't sound that interesting to me. I mean, I did say that I was kind of grasping for straws here, so I might give myself a little bit of a pass. But yeah, Amass, as a pick for me, coming in at a 7.3. Sleeve, the game minimally rewards smart strategy, relies too much on luck of rolling die. Yeah. You can play intelligently all day long, but if the dice don't roll your way, nothing matters. The hidden action is fun. We're getting some 8s and 10s. Let's see. Lots of 8s, 21 8s. 13 6s is the next highest. Then 11 9s, 7 10s, 8 7s. So kind of all up in there. I want to see the people who rated it poorly if they wrote anything. No, they didn't. Obviously, the best game of its genre. Obviously, a friend. Right? This feels like people before the game. Up to 6 players, decent price. All right. So people are seeming to be enjoying it. This dice rolling, I kind of flag now as being more luck dependent, a little bit more knowing what to look for on a campaign page. I'm going to attribute that to me there. I still do like the concept of sending your workers out to mine cubes, but when it comes down to a dice roll, I feel like that would take a lot of the fun and a lot of the strategy out of it and a lot of that tension out of it. So would it make pick for me category now? Yeah, because I like to pick a pick for me. I like to talk about the thing that is the most interesting mechanically. Again, the pick for me is like it's not really, I mean, it's a highlight at the end of the round, isn't it? It's a highlight. It's the thing that I would be most interested to play out of the week, is what it is. It's what it always has been. So might I still be the most interested to play that out of everything in the week? Probably. Maybe I would play Black Rose Wars now, but I think it's still an equal luck fest, just with more pieces. There weren't that many things going on this week, and I think I specified that. So let's be harsh. Let's be harsh with this score. I don't care if it affects my credibility, because you all know me, and it won't. And then the pick for you being the gardens. I'm excited to see how this turned out for people, because I remember thinking this looked really neat in terms of a walk in the park. Updates has it with Grail Games. Oh, Grail Games has done a bunch of stuff, haven't they? What else have they done recently? Food for thought. Oh, yeah, just this past week. Food for thought. The Gardens, where you're going to draft cards, use them to build your own portion of the gardens in front of you. You score points based on the visitors, what the visitors see as they walk through your gardens. Just a little light drafting game that I thought looked pretty cool. Sitting at 6.6. It is similar with Sanssouci, but better in my opinion. Well, thank goodness, because that's one that I clearly missed. Not happy with the publisher. Box is oversized. Well, David enjoys it because it's light, and that makes sense because it's a 7. David. He enjoys this more than Village Green because of the landmark powers. Gardens is good, sitting at a 7. Yeah, just happens to be in a crowded space of beautiful nature, set collection, and tile placement game. The Gardens has some slightly tricky rules to teach and play through, which was just enough to push it out of the collection. What a great review that was. Nice, relaxing game, nothing amazing, but enjoyable to play. Rules were confusing, that tracks. The game is simple, but the scoring parameters are not. Decent and inoffensive. What did I say about this? How enthusiastic was I? That'll be a positive point or a negative point. Thought they were kind of decent to look at. Direct quote. Kind of decent. I don't know. I still think I'd be interested in this. Very light family set collection game. Yeah, I said if you want to fill the Carcassonne void, and that seems to be the vibe that I'm getting from people, a little bit more complexity in the scoring than a Carcassonne void might be. This makes me want to be harsher with my pick for me and the pick for you. Although it always sort of is a best of the crop. Maybe I should put it up against everything else. If it was just against everything else, I still stand by it being best of the crop as its own game. Maybe it's a negative. Maybe it's a negative. Maybe it wasn't worth talking about to begin with, according to the reviews. But you know what? I'm not giving myself negative. This is the worst scoring system ever. I need to have a sit down with myself and establish a good scoring system as to what the score means. But that certainly won't happen this episode. So it's going to be willy-nilly. I'm giving myself 1 bad point for this one. I'm not giving myself 2 because I think it does what I said it would do. And that I think maybe has some value. Who knows? Okay, we're going to keep on going. Let's go on to episode 10. Episode 10. Oh, which had Eero. I remember Eero. That got sent to me and I enjoyed it. Ooh, I hope that was a pick for me, and then I can give myself a point. Pick for me? Eero? Yes. Ha a point for me. Because I did get sent this, and I did enjoy it. I still have it on my shelf. Whereas I got rid of another one from their design. And then pick for you is Wild Serengeti. I'm just scrolling through quickly to see if there's anything that I missed. Oh, this is where Piggy came out, though. And Maggie and Pablo had something to say. Can I make myself laugh? Do I get a point if I do? I don't know. Let's see. Sorry. I'm giving myself a point for this joke as well. Somebody said not a big fan of talking to the animations, but thumbs up for the shirt. Well, then I talked to 2 of them. Troll Chris is alive and well. But let's take a look at Wild Serengeti. And I remember this one. I think it looked pretty cool. A bunch of different meeples. Bad Comet is a company that I've looked at excitedly when they put forward some stuff. So I'm interested to see. I know this delivered, right? They didn't have anything. Yeah, 2022. Wooden versions. They came out with even an expansion for this too. So let's see. Sitting at a solid 7. Set collection, engine building. To gain victory points, the player must complete scene cards by placing the animals on the main board in the same pattern shown as the cards. You're making your own documentary. To achieve the pattern shown on the scene cards, player perform either actions to place or move animals on the main board. So you're moving these animals all around into the water, into the landscape, trying to put them into the right spot so that you can then score these objectives. Sure, probably overproduced. A lot of reviews here, 497 8s and 406 7s and 333 6s. That's pretty good. And then 148, 68 10s. This is a nice review. I'm learning to ignore the average BGG ratings. I almost traded sold this away after reading the reviews. Then I played Bad Comet's Follow Life of the Amazonia. I really liked it, so decided to give this a try. Boy, I'm glad I did. Maybe it's too late for the heavy crowd. Plays long at higher player counts. But I play with peeps I enjoy the company of, so that's not an issue. Don't be put off by the mediocre reviews. Give it a shot. I think a lot of people have missed out on a gem, just like I did, because of the tepid initial reaction. It's really solid, beautifully produced gem of midweight game. You know what, Slacker King? I'm giving myself a point because of that. That's sweet. That's great. This action is the longest, least interesting, yet most powerful in the game. The card refresh action, just constantly refreshing cards, hoping that you luck into where your animals are put into. Yeah. All right. I'm not going to give myself a point for it, but I'm not going to give myself a negative. I think it's potential. A 7 is an okay score. It is a fine game. Now, you don't want to be backing just fine games at Kickstarter, though. So is that the bar at which we're doing this? I don't know, but I'm not giving myself a point in either camp because I'm worried I'm going to give myself too many negatives. Let's move on to episode 11. Oh, right, I gotta log those. So that way, when people are looking through this, they don't even have to click on the YouTube. They don't have to give me one single ad. They don't have to give me 0.001 penny. No. Okay, I'm gonna make a bet if I can remember. Mythic Mischief was probably a pick, and Earth Rising. Agemonia. Ooh, 11 could have been up there. The spill might have been up there. This was a good week. Okay, let's go to episode 11. Oh, it's a good week when Paul Blart Mall Cop is in the thumbnail. Little Flower Shop, the dice game, is my pick of the week. I was not expecting that, but I think I probably cut Mythic Mischief because it was probably too expensive. Because, I feel that way about a lot. Let's go back. This must be a Steve Finn game, eh? It certainly is. Little Flower Shop, the dice game, which I almost typed as Lil, but I'm glad I didn't. 6.2. Interesting take on the OG game. You get to draft tiles and try to roll specific things on your dice to fulfill the tiles for points. It's a fine little game. Yeah, it's a fine little game. I think I called this as an enjoyable filler game. I did not expect much of this going in. If I had 20 to 30 minutes to blow on a game, it would be low on the list. It's not a bad game. It's just not that great either. Mediocre. A lot of people putting it in that 6 to 7 range. I don't know. I think I called it as like an enjoyable filler, and maybe it still is. I think people are rating it as an enjoyable filler. Maybe not that enjoyable a filler. If you want a filler game, you want something that you're actively reaching towards. No points for you, but I think I'm going to get a point on the pick for me, which is Dungeons of Infinity, which I'm pretty sure by all accounts people really enjoy. Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe not. Late pledge. Oh, actually, I think my friend Reed got this. You're not Reed. Games are being prepared to freight across the ocean. Games are now loaded into ships. So it hasn't delivered yet? This isn't good. Did you find my mail? Still got no response. Still no response. Somebody not being able to contact them. After nearly a 2-year delay, I've lost all interest in this game. Don't care if it ever arrives. Just go on unplayed and likely never will be shelf. This is why you need to be actively excited when you back. What was your campaign timeline? It finished in 2021. Again, we're still in 2021, September 2021. I think we're going to get a lot of value in this Dungeons of Infinity bundle. Like for the standees, all in was $99, or the base game was $70. That's what swayed me, I think. I wonder if this is common, because it feels like the timelines just don't exist. And I wonder if it's like standard practice to just like delete your timeline before like when something finishes funding. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Let's see if people are commenting on BGG. See, I thought I was going to give myself a point because I thought it was Dungeons Universalis, which I think people really like as a dungeon crawl. Feels very talisman-like. All right, this one still feels like an unknown to me. Reading through those things, I can't get a clear grasp on what people are saying or if they've even received it at this point. So TBD, not a good week for Chris in terms of recommendation. I think if I'd recommended Mythic Mischief or The Spill, I think those probably would have been better picks at that point. Or Agemonia, because people are enjoying that. But my cheapness is the reason, or Artemis Odyssey. Honestly, the Artemis Project, you know what? I deserve an X on this one because I think Artemis Odyssey looks good and probably should have been the pick. I think Artemis Project does end up being a pick for me when it comes back. But, maybe because this is different than the Artemis Project. Okay, I take it back. But there were quite a few, like, big box campaigns. I wasn't interested in Agemonia because I was high on Iridia, and so kind of still stand by that. if you can get one or the other. But I know people have been enjoying Agemonia. I just think Iridia is going to be better. And if Iridia isn't good, and I've talked about it and I've hyped it up for years, I'm going to be so mad. Cody Miller, I'll personally come for you, okay? And your lovely family that I enjoy seeing so much in the updates. I don't think I'd played any IV games at this point. I hadn't played Veiled Fate yet. Kind of wanted to see what I had to say here. Okay, good assessment. That was a good assessment there, Chris. Because I said you had to double the enjoyment of Santorini in order to pay double the price. And I stand by that. All right, not bad. I'm glad I didn't put 11 on there because I heard 11 was bad. Okay, we're going to move on to episode 12. We're going to keep it moving. I want to see if I can get some points here. Because I just might. Let's get yourself a bag of old salt. Mint Mini, Dog Park, Solforge Fusion. Oh no, I hope I don't give it to Solforge Fusion. Zach hated that one. Tenaris RPG, Kenji's Quest, Raptor Island, Limbo 1.5. I might give it to Limbo. I think Limbo looked cool. Oh, I think I give it to Relics of Rahavihara too, which might work. And then Masters of the Uniblart, which I might give it to. If I give it to that, I think I get a point. Come on, baby. What's pick for me? Oh, no. Pick for me. That's a big X. That's a big X right there. That's you just trusting the Keyforge, and it's the same experience, and unfortunately, Zach hated it. Zach hated it. Oh, no. What's the pick for you? I don't even have to go look at it, I know. Dog Park. Ooh, Dog Park, I think I might get a point. I think people like Dog Park. I've heard it spoken of. I think you get exactly what you're asking for in Dog Park. And I still remember the little wheel action. Sitting at a 7, right? A beautiful game of dogs. This little wheel. I mean, I guess it's a leash. The dogs are cute. You're collecting resources in this little path mechanic. You go up or you go down. This is your bidding offer dial on bidding on the little pooches. Yeah, I think I get a point for this one. It's not the deepest game, but it does have beautiful art and play that's engaging without being overly taxing. Most of the play involves timing. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think I called this game being at what it is, 2-player. I really want to be harsh with myself here, so maybe I don't even get a point. But yeah, that Solforge was just such a kick in the teeth. Dang it, Solforge. But who could know? Certainly Chris of the past didn't. I think this retrospective really might ruin my reputation. But then we're thinking of Chris 3 years ago, right? Chris now has, I'm sure, learned a thing or two. And really, I was just so high off of knowing that Forest Pangaea came up in people's lists and Distilled was, good. That I don't know what to tell you, but that's a big old miss for me. Solforge Fusion. I could have gotten something better, but I am giving myself a point for Dog Park because I think people who got that got exactly what they were looking for out of the game, or should have known at least. You should have known. All right, we're gonna keep on moving. Oh, because Scandaloh is in this one, and I know that I picked that one. I had to have picked Scandaloh because I thought it looked funny. Oh, and the Artisans of Splendid Vale. Maybe I did that as a pick for you. Oh, and this one, honestly, the pick for me is the goddamn idiot tournament fishing piece of garbage, where I just added a bunch of little cute puppies so that I wouldn't get as angry as I was for people making edgy comments that aren't funny whatsoever, and for producing a mediocre game and then doubling down on like images of white supremacy. And really a mediocre game. Like, I did read through the rulebook. I was like, okay, I'm gonna read through this rulebook just to make sure that it's mediocre, forgettable, and that's what it was. Oh yeah, Arcosa. I remember Arcosa. Arcosa's cool. Pick for me is Scandaloh. I think people didn't like Scandaloh as much as Awkward Guess, and I think I attributed a lot of my pick of it toward, but give me that BGG page. Thanks for making me not have to click. Reimplements Awkward Guests, which is rated at 351, right? Like, it was a huge hit. And then Scandaloh, I think, didn't quite live up to that expectation. Best in class deduction game. Equally as impressive as Awkward Guess, because it's the same game again. If you have one, you don't need the other. If you have neither, get Scandaloh. That's a good review. See Awkward Guests. This is the same deduction system as Awkward Guess. It's Clue on turbo mode. You can level up with this game system. The logic tree is a little bit more complex versus Awkward Guess. Okay. That's great. Cards themselves are more streamlined, easy to read. Really good. I like Awkward Guests, and I like this. They're fairly similar that you don't need both. Okay, great. I thought it wasn't getting as good reviews, but it seems to be in the same vein. I am still interested in Awkward Guests. I still think that clue style system of eliminating people is interesting. I think this looks more interesting than the 2-player Awkward Guest version, and the art style is fun. I'm going to give myself a point for that one. I still stand by it. Okay, let's look at Arcosa. I'm interested to see if this... Ooh, it's still got a late pledge. I don't like seeing that. This is a bunker building board game. It looked cool. Updates. All games dispatched in 2023. Okay, great. Fulfillment partner. So it must have... it did deliver. Great. Quick guide. What a good game. Received my copy. Received my copy. Received my copy about a year ago. So in 2023. Great. Okay, that's good. What does the late pledge go to? Pre-orders are disabled. I don't think that's the button that you're looking for. I want to see how people are enjoying this one, because I remember that one seeming neat. Sitting at a 7.9, that's pretty nice. 1 to 4 player tableau and action pool building game. The approximate playtime is about 25 minutes. Oh yeah, and this character's name is Brumpgrimp. 100%. You get a point. You get a point pass, Chris. You will 100% get a point with your name being Brumpgrimp. Come on. Yeah, I really like that this is hitting at 7.9. 2 versions, hooray. 1 4-player game. Everybody really enjoyed it. About 10 games in, and it's still fun. Really good game from a small company. And this one was struggling to fund, too. Arcosa is great. Love the 2 separate tracks around the board. You are building elements of your bunker, which, creates a tableau. This is a good 3. I like reading these. Game that's quite confusing, doesn't know what it wants. Mixes deck building, engine building, and a mean time track. Take that with the most random deck of events and punishments I've ever seen. I guess it's a hybrid style game. It just doesn't quite work for me. I would say you have to be interested in a mean take that game with mostly random events happening. Mix that in with a little bit of deck building and resource management. The game's over pretty fast. Doesn't outstay its welcome. 3 rounds are over very fast. You barely get to do any deck building using the cards you recruit. There's a lot of fluff and complexity I wish the game would get rid of to streamline it even more. It may have a spot as a 20-minute take that game with some cool deck building mechanics. Lots of potential here, not polished enough. Not a lot of reviews, but a few in the 7s. I mean, we can discount the 10s, right? Because the 10s happen beforehand and then really, really do. I've never been somebody who worries about people rating things 10s or 1s. I mean, rate things how you want. But it does hurt a bit in this retrospective of trying to parse through a limited amount of information. I still think I'm going to give this a point for me, though. I remembered seeing it. I remember getting excited when it landed. I think it was an okay price, but the shipping was horrible, obviously. And I like the idea of bringing colonists into your bunker to activate them. And having these different little rooms seems kind of fun still. So yeah, I think that was a very positive week, starting off with a very horrible decision. The one thing that I might have, I think I was pretty high on Artisans of Splendid Vale as well, and I think people have enjoyed that. And then Solar Sphere, I do remember a bit as this sort of dice placement area control game using things to harvest stuff from the sun. I think that one looked kind of neat too. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that 3 years later I'm remembering this much about these games. That's pretty good after having going through 2000. Well, I got sidetracked by Chris of the Past there, but yeah, we're going to move on. Maybe let's do one more? Let's do one more. Oh, let's do one more, because there's a fun one on the next one, and I want to see what I said about it. And you know what that is. It's Voidfall, baby. What's the pick for me? What's the pick for you? It's not Voidfall. Oh, I think this one's... Oh no. Reputation, the board game. Uh-oh. Oh, Chris. Oh, you are not making a good case for yourself. Oh, Chris, you are not making a good case for yourself. Oh no. This should have been a slam dunk. Okay. Let's do our fact checking here. Let's do our bets. This could get us a point here. I'm gonna live or die on this. Voidfall Standard Edition. I mean, it's sold out, but it was $114.95 Canadian. Retail release coming in 2023. Yeah. Voidfall, the standard box, €70, or the Galactic box, which was 195 Canadian, plus the shipping, which is 200 and something. Which I think it is ended up being cheaper than getting it from your store. At least currently in 2024, if you're looking for that sort of Kickstarter edition. However, Euro to Canada, The retail one did end up being cheaper. Man, we'll call it a wash. I did say if you wanted to get it, if you were going to go all in on everything, if you're going to get the big galactic box, then you should get it here. If not, you could wait and get it cheaper, significantly cheaper than that at retail. And I feel pretty good about that. Again, the Voidfall, 115 Canadian, sold out. But again, the standard box, I've seen the difference between the galactic box and the standard box. I got to view that at PAX. I'm okay. I'm okay with what I said. I'm not okay, I don't think, with these pick for me, pick for you. I need to double check what the dang hell this reputation is, because I forget about it completely. And I also, quests and cannons is going to be the pick for you as well, which is a pre-order now system. Struggling with mental health, starting the print run, so it hasn't come out yet, kind of mid. I mean, was really delayed. Share your well-being. I mean, like, they're clearly just doing it in their part-time, and that's why things get delayed. And this is interesting. This is also an interesting sort of retrospective of, like, timelines. When you're on Kickstarter, I'm going to come back to you for this. When you're on Kickstarter, the timelines are always made up, right? Like, they're always made up. They're always probably a year later than you expect. Now, in this one, it was about 2 years later than people expected. And we've seen that consistently in this retrospective. I think 4-ish campaigns out of the 28. That's not a horrible rate, but haven't yet fulfilled, right? Like, we're not good on their timelines. And that's something to consider when you're looking at an indie company, because an indie company isn't a company. An indie company is 2 people with a dream trying to do this in their spare time and get this game off the ground, and hoping that the game is so popular that then they can become full-time game designers. That's what an indie company is. It doesn't matter what these company names are. That's something that I definitely didn't have clarity on way back when I started looking into Kickstarter and looking at crowdfunding. That's something that I've learned over the course of these 3 years, heavily diving into this industry. It's that people just get into this industry. In this idea for quests and cannons, they're like, hey, this has been a labor of love for us since 2018. Yeah, it took them 3 years to create the game, come up with a campaign, and then it has taken them 3 more years to create the thing, figure out, like, connect with publishers, et cetera, et cetera. And that honestly feels like a quick turnaround for what is clearly like a 2-person team just doing this in their off hours and having mental breakdowns in the process. But I think that's worth pointing out that, like, if you are in crowdfunding, if you're still interested in crowdfunding, I know crowdfunding, the deals are long gone, essentially. There are no deals anymore because you have to pay for shipping. And so on the economy of scale thing, you're not going to probably find a good deal on crowdfunding. That's why when I do, I try to, like, put it out into the stratosphere. That's why people are afraid of first-time publishers, if people are just trying to make this thing happen for themselves. And these are things to be aware of, and that's why I always say that you need to be as excited when the game hits your door as you are when you hit back. And if you don't think that can sustain delays, and if you don't think that can sustain unexpected costs, then you should not be buying the product, and you should just go to a store, because there are so many good games that are at a store. And arguably, those games are vetted, and the crowdfunding games are not, right? Even with all the information that we have, it's hard to take a swing. And the amount of money that you save taking a swing, like, let's go back to Voidfall for a second. You would have saved, it was about $200 Canadian plus shipping, whatever the shipping was. Let's go to risks because it's probably close. I imagine 30. Oh, 20. Oh, standard box, galactic box, 30. Yeah, 27, 29 to the US. So for me, again, like 250 Canadian. Let's average it out. And I can get it in a store for 314 Canadian, it said. So I would pay less. I would have paid less doing the galactic box. But the amount of unvetted projects, and I mean, I did bet that, honestly. I did also bet that, and I bet that you could get it cheaper in the standard box. These 557 people paid more for getting it in advance, as often is with the retail. Or maybe they got some stretch goals, like, who cares? Some sort of promo, I'm sure, was thrown in there. But the justification that you might save money down the line, I don't think is a good one, because of the economy of scale of the amount of crowdfunding games that exist that aren't gonna be good. Like, even the picks for me, and a lot of these pick for me, pick for you, I go like, well, I kind of have to pick one, and I try to preface saying, like, I don't think it's that good. I don't think you should get it. But this is the one that I think is most interesting mechanically. Like, if I had to highlight one, right? I think I'll give myself points for when I say that, as long as it rings true, as long as I'm saying a certain thing. I think my biggest negative point has been Solforge. I was like, I think this will be good, and it was not. Dragon Bond also should be a negative point. Maybe the other ones aren't, you know? Because I think I kind of preface if they're mid. Reputation, this was cheap. Did it ever get funded? Fulfillment is now complete. That happened on August 1st, 2022. It's a bidding game that I forget completely about. Well, I don't know. Jury's still out for quests and cannons. I remember Reputation now. I think Reputation is very simple. It's a bidding game where there are multiple things. There's a private sector and a public sector that you can bid on, and they will both be worth a certain amount of victory points. And so you're deciding, okay, am I bidding on the public? Am I bidding on the private? And trying to balance that out, just seeing how many points you drain from the pot and how many people go in for the bidding. See if you can get the maximum amount of points, or if you can't. If we go here, people seem to love this game. On the surface, it's a bidding game. Juicy Mechanical Hook is each round the victory points are divided upon 2 ongoing auctions. Bidding game with similar feel as High Society. Only one person who's a tool who says basic concept seems fine, execution lacks a number of areas. It was not fun at all. Yeah, sitting around at 8 or 7 or 6. I think for the price, it was $22. I think shipping was okay, right? It was $22. You just get a simple little bidding game along the same lines as QE or High Society. And it was $7 shipping or $12. I'm going to give myself a point here. Why? I don't know. Should I give myself a point? Should I only give myself a point for recognizable titles? You're right. No, I'm not giving myself a point here. I'm not getting a point here. I'm not getting a negative point here for either of them. I mentioned Voidfall in here. I could give myself a little point for Voidfall because I think I accurately guessed it out, even though it wasn't the pick for you. And that makes sense because it's no longer in any death matches because it got disqualified. So I don't know. But I figured that would be a fun one to end on. That's the point tally. It feels like it wasn't a positive point tally for me. I need to, I think about more what I want the scoring system to be. Okay, let me know what you think about the scoring system. Because there's 2 options. One is like definitive hit that I predicted was going to be a definitive hit. Like those get points for sure. 2 is I said this game's going to be good, and then I played it and it sucked. That's a negative point for sure, right? And then there's a little bit more variability when I haven't yet played them. If they haven't yet delivered, I think it's a, unless it's Six Siege, unless it's a Mythic game situation, which, although people have been saying that Six Siege is a good game, and again, just kind of backing on that point of view, I don't know, but I think if I said it was good and it like clearly sucks, that's a negative point. If I said it was going to be good and it was clearly good, that's clearly a positive point. If I said, I think this will be fine and it's fine, is that a positive point or not? That's the question that I'm currently struggling with. So I don't know. Let me know if you think this retrospective is fun. I think it's kind of fun to go back and to see. It kind of feels almost equal work to Crowdfunding Countdown, except I'm just cherry picking them. And I have a little bit of knowledge in my head still. It's funny the ones that I forget though. I feel like with quests and cannons, maybe that's a negative point because I could have picked Keep the Heroes Out, right? Like if there was something in the Crowdfunding Countdown that could have been picked and I didn't, does that get me a negative point? And if there was something in Crowdfunding Countdown where I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be good, and it wasn't good and it was hyped up, does that give me a positive point? I don't know. I think we're just going to keep on making this up as we go along, but I'm interested to hear your input, and see what impact that would make. Thank you all for joining me on this little retrospective journey. I hope it's interesting, because if it isn't, then I'll change it. And if it is, well, then we can keep on going through periodically. I'm not going to do this every week. I'm not going to fill this up every week, but I'll return periodically, and we'll see how it happens. If I'm in a space where I can't film reviews, as I am right now, well, then you might be seeing a bit more of it. Thanks so much for watching. Again, my name's Chris George. I do not have a catchphrase. And looking back at these, it's embarrassing because like I haven't had a catchphrase for a while. And I got to put that on my to-do list. My reputation is at stake. I'll see you in the next one.